Our next speaker is Darryl W. Thomas Jr. He is a family man who champions love, leadership, and legacy. He went from fatherlessness to fatherhood advocacy. He is an award-winning author, world-class leadership coach, and certified speaker. Coming from a broken home, he cherishes his family's tight-knit bond and love for one another. As he says in his words, "My wife and kids are my heartbeat." Darryl's a U.S. Marine who has served in Kuwait and Iraq. He now coaches and develops the next generation of leaders to take charge and build rich legacies. With more than 20 years of experience connecting with, reforming, and transforming disadvantaged and underrepresented young adults, Darryl's team is devoted to helping first-generation and low-income college students, parents, and educators alike to transform their lives through leadership. He challenges them to commit and not quit. Not only is Darryl a certified life coach and an at-risk interventionist, but he is the CEO of Committed to Win, LLC, a leadership development company focused on dismantling the school-to-prison pipeline. Darryl is also the founder of The Size of a Man 501c3 organization dedicated to breaking the cycles of fatherlessness and poverty. His philosophy is simple, yet relevant and reinvigorating. That is, you do win as long as you do not quit. Darryl?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dee. I appreciate the introduction. It is truly an honor to be before you guys, and I hope that you've gained value up until this point, and I hope to continue to add on to the value that you're gaining. One thing that I'm going to challenge you to do is to be engaged, to be focused, and I guess attentive to what I'm about to share, because I believe that it will really add value. Let me pull up my screen real quick, and then I'll jump right into this. Let's see, make sure I have the correct, there we go. So hopefully you guys can see that okay with the screen. All right, so today I want to talk to you about the subject, the impact of hypermasculinity on fatherhood, the impact of hypermasculinity on fatherhood. With that in mind, again, I do have an organization by the name of The Size of Man, where we are looking to break the cycles of fatherlessness and poverty through mentorship. Today, I want to cover these four things. We want to understand the problem of hypermasculinity. We also want to break down some practical solutions as to what you can implement, whether you are a father or whether you are a program or you offer some type of service, to help fathers. Also, some available resources that you may or may not be aware of. And then I'm going to hopefully have a little bit of time for one or two questions. And so we'll have a Q&A session. So again, you heard the introduction about myself. I really want to stay right here. I did grow up as an at-risk youth. Here you can see a picture of three of my cousins. The guy on the left is one of my cousins, and then the two young ladies in the middle are two of my cousins. And this is back in the day, right? And you can see me with the big old head, right? Like that's me. But I want to share this with you because February 16th, 1997 is a day I never forget. February 16th, 1997. And this particular day, I remember my dad, he had just gotten his paycheck from work and he gave it to his girlfriend who lived with us. And by us, I mean my dad, myself, and my younger brother, Quincy. And nonetheless, he gave her his paycheck and say, hey, go deposit this in the bank, go get some food in the house, because we didn't have much food. We grew up poor, so it mattered where the money went. Bottom line, she took the check, kind of rolled her eyes in her neck, right? Didn't say much. I knew something wasn't right about that. But my dad takes me and my little brother, we leave the apartment that morning. We come back later that day, and the first thing I'm looking for is food. I'm looking for food, like where I'm hungry. That's one, but two, I'm trying to see where my suspicions correct. would she not do what my dad told her to do? And so, sure enough, my dad, he's looking for food as well. He realized there's no food in the house. And my dad has what you call, or what we call, the Thomas temper, meaning it's one of those problems, if you will, that runs throughout the family. Everybody has this tendency to blow up, right? If you push the right button. And so, just like clockwork, the button was pushed, and my daddy, he explodes. And so at this point, now he's yelling, "Didn't I tell you to get some food in the house, woman? You," right? And as he does that, his girlfriend is a little crazy, right? Psychotic. And just like that, she went from 0 to 100, and now they're going back and forth. They're yelling, they're fussing, they're cussing, right? Mid argument, my dad tells me, "DJ, Darryl Jr., and Quincy, my little brother, y'all go downstairs, wait for me." We lived on the second story in the apartment complex. And he said, "Go downstairs, wait by the car. We're getting ready to leave." And I said, "Okay, daddy, just want to make sure. Are we leaving for good, like never coming back?" He's like, "Yes, son, get down there." I was like, "All right, yes, sir." I take my little brother, we go downstairs. As we're going downstairs, I now began to hear the argument resume, but it has evolved to the point where you're starting to hear things being thrown across the room. Things are hitting the walls, hitting the floors. That evolves. Now you're starting to hear bodies being shoved into the wall. Boom, boom. Meanwhile, I'm downstairs trying to console my little brother, trying to be big brother, right? "Hey, Quincy, you all right? Stay right here, man. It's going to be okay." And sure enough, the commotion, it stops. And I see the front door of the apartment, it swings wide open. And when it swings open, you hear boom, and then it closes. Swings open again, boom, it closes. Again, boom, and does it a few more times. Now I'm starting to panic. I'm starting to freak out a little bit without showing my little brother. Well, somebody comes out to the front porch. They say, "Hey, that'll teach you to mess with me, you bleepity bleepity bleep." Still bragging and boasting. I run up the stairs, I look behind the door, and there was the biggest test of my life ever, ever. And I've experienced some things, right, growing up as an at-risk youth, but that was the biggest test by far. And the very person that I saw behind that door, when I looked behind there, was the guy that I'm named after. My father, my supporter. At that time, he was becoming my best friend, and so so much that I needed, he was. And so I see my hero, for lack of better words, lying face down, head next to the door, in his own puddle of blood. One arm is up, the left arm is up, the right arm is down. I immediately drop to my knees. I'm experiencing this whirlwind of negative emotions. But I drop to my knees. I'm scared. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I feel abandoned, confused. You name it, I was probably feeling it. When I dropped to my knees, I rolled my dad's head over. I rolled his body over. His head is now, the back of his head is laying on my lap. And I'm crying out, "Daddy, Daddy, please. Daddy, say something, please." And his response was, and then the pupils of his eyes, they dilate. He stops breathing. He passes away in my arms. I'm 14 years old at the time. 14 years old. And in that moment, I began to think about some things. I'm like, okay, where do we go now? I don't even know what to do now. you know, and I'm like, okay, do I retaliate? Maybe I can retaliate and I can avenge his death like right here on the spot. Let me go ahead and kill her. One life for another life. But I happen to look over my shoulder and I see my little brother standing right there. And that helped me to redirect. Because now I'm thinking, okay, if I don't change my ways or the way I'm thinking, then I can put myself in a position where who's going to be here for Quincy? And so I want to challenge you right now. I want you to think about, who is your little Quincy? I want you to write that down. Who is your little Quincy? Who is that person that may be looking to you to make the right move? Who is that person that may be counting on you to be the best version of yourself? Who is that person? For me, it was Quincy at that time. But as I've grown older, now it has become my family, right? And I'm a father of 5 kids. You know, my oldest, she's actually in the Marine Corps, kind of following my footsteps. You know, I went into the Corps, but my wife, she's the one in the wheelchair right here, and we have 4 other kids that are still in school right now. My second to oldest, he's getting ready to graduate high school in a couple of weeks, and then he's going off to TCU, you know, the school of his choice, on a scholarship. But my reason for saying that is because here it is. I grew up experiencing the fatherless, you know, having the fatherless experience, and I still found a way to defy those odds and not become yet another statistic. And that's what I want to really talk about today. Because when we talk about hypermasculinity, that does play into the negative image that we have of fathers. And if we're not careful, what we'll do, we'll be part of perpetuating that if we're not careful. And so I want to help us to really understand that a little bit more. Um, and so when I think about, you know, from me and my family, well, now I've also, as you know, I've transitioned to being an at-risk interventionist. You know, that's my profession now. That's what I do. And so anyhow, enough about me. I want you to write this down. Typically, I would ask you the question, you know, who are you? But I'm just going to cut right to the answer. I want you to write down these 4 words: I am a winner. So if someone asks you the question from this point on, I want you to identify yourself as a winner. I am a winner. I want you to write that down. I am a winner. So now you're making the affirmation, right? You're stating this affirmation, but also I want you to make the declaration of action. And today I win, right? It's one thing to identify yourself as a winner, but it's another thing for you to actually declare, okay, I'm going to take action. I'm going to act as a winner, right? Not tomorrow, not next year, not on my birthday, but I'm going to do it today, right? Today I win. So I want you to write those 8 words down now. Okay, I am a winner, and today I win. Something else I want you to write down is this right here: I am a difference maker. So whether you're a father, whether your organization that supports fathers, that offers programs or services, that advocates for fathers, empower fathers, whatever the case is, I want you to know that you are a difference maker. I am a difference maker. And again, this is the declaration of action. Today, I am making a difference. Today, I am making a difference. Hopefully you have that written down. All right. I am a winner. Today I win. I am a difference maker. Today I am making a difference. It's a choice, right? And we have to be very deliberate. So when we talk about the problem of hypermasculinity, I want to show you this illustration first. Understanding the problem. We all can see here there's a crack in this wall, which says that crack has stemmed from a faulty foundation. Like there was something that caused that crack, and typically we're looking at foundational issues, right? When we see cracks of that nature, how much damage can be suffered from a foundation with cracks in it? There's a lot of damage that can be suffered, right? What would that cost? Would it be costly to repair? Absolutely, it would be costly to repair. Think about a home that has cracks in the foundation, and now you have cracks running up the walls of the home. Eventually you may even have to demolish that home and just rebuild all over again, right? You may, depending on how bad it gets. And we understand that it's not a quick fix to repair that foundation, right? We understand that. What happens to a house that has no foundation, right? It has none whatsoever. And so I'm going somewhere with this, because when we talk about hypermasculinity, yes, it may have started with my dad or even with my grandfather, right? And that was taught to my dad, and my dad passed it on to us. And maybe he didn't pass it on in terms of his word choice, but his actions and his behaviors. That that was something that shaped us. And so now when I replay the image of my dad passing away in my arms, I also have to go back to previous memories. And I have to think about, okay, man, I that wasn't the first time I saw my daddy get into it with a woman. Like my mom abused drugs, but my dad abused women, right? I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen him slap, a lady, right? Hyper masculinity. Like he has, I need to have control. And if the only way I can maintain control is to physically dominate you, then I'm going to do that. That plays into it, right? And so again, if there's no foundation in the home or for that house is going to crumble, period. It's going to crumble. So I liken that foundation in that house to our children, right? If the children are lacking that foundation, then it's going to crumble. And that's why I have so much respect for organizations like Starry and the program that brother Marlon Jones is actually directing and heading up. Like I love the fatherhood empowerment because that's what it's going to take. A lot of our young people, unfortunately, do have cracked foundations, but statistically, what we hear is the negative side of it. I'm going to show you some of those statistics. But I also I'm only doing this because I want you to understand how severe the problem is, right? Not taking away from the good of the fathers who are doing what they are supposed to be doing, because there's a lot of us that are doing that. Let me move forward real quick for the sake of time. So as we understand the problem, understand this: that 74 million children, there was an estimated 74 million children in the US in 2020. Of course, that number will continue to rise as we go throughout the years. 2050, they say there should be about almost 80 million, right, children. Why is that significant? Because if we have fathers who are not being all that they can be, then we shortchange those children. That means that's more children that are being negatively impacted, right? So I want you to really get that. Let me go back to it again. Who are you? I am a winner. And today I win. Write it down again. Like write it down. Write it down. I am a winner and today I win. Who are you? I'm a difference maker. And today I'm making a difference. Like say that with conviction, right? Because truly you are. So let me get into this. What is hypermasculinity? Hypermasculinity is a psychological term for the exaggeration of male stereotypical behavior. A psychological term for the exaggeration of male stereotypical behavior. So, oh, that's just a boy. Boys will be boys. Boys will just do what they do. Don't mind them. He's just being a boy. He's just being a man. Stereotypical, right? But it's an exaggeration of that. And so a lot of times that shows up in physical strength, as in the case when I was talking about my dad and him being abusive to women, right? It shows up in that. And maybe it's not so much the abusive side. It can just be, you know what, man, I'm stronger than you. I can lift more than you can lift. No, you can't. Yes, I can. And we got this competition. We're trying to go, trying to see who's the top dog or the alpha male, right? Bottom line, physical strength is one of those emphases where the exaggeration of male stereotypical behavior shows up. Another emphasis would be aggression. I used to think, honestly, and up until recent years, I used to kind of wear the Thomas temper as a badge of honor. Like, man, I got a Thomas temper. You don't want to see this. You know what I mean? As if that's a good thing. Truth of the matter, that's not a good thing, right? Especially when we don't maintain control of that aggression or that ability to be easily angered. Or once we do get angry, maybe it's not easily angered, but once we do get angered, man, it's like we just go overboard, right? That's not a good thing. And then even with sexuality, it shows up, emphasis on sexuality, you know. And so for me, I really want to I really want to sit in this just for a moment. How many times have you heard the word boys don't cry, don't be such a girl, suck it up, you hit like a girl, be a real man, never let them see you cry, man up, boy, right? Like we've heard that time and time again. We've heard it. And some of it is relevance, right? Some of it may be okay. Listen, I'm not gonna say boys don't cry, boys do cry. But I'm gonna tell you what winners don't do. Winners won't just sit there and then let it just be a pity party for the rest of their life and never try again. Right? When we talk about don't be such a girl. Like these are, do we want the boys to necessarily be girls? No, we want the boys to be boys, right? We want the girls to be girls. However, it's the way in which we present that, that's what makes the difference. And so if we are presenting it in the way where we are demeaning the other sex to make the we're demeaning the females to actually exalt the males, what are we teaching them? The males are better than females and you are to dominate females. Like ultimately that's what we're saying. When truth in the matter, that's that's not the message we want to put across. I've been married to my wife for almost 21 years now. And I share this because I've seen my dad grow up, as I was growing up, I seen my dad hit on women, abuse women. I have not laid a finger on my wife. Why? Because I consciously made a decision that I'm not going to follow in the footsteps of my dad. Why? Because I don't want to end up like my dad did. My dad was 33 years old when he lost his life. Why? Because he actually suffered from that hypermasculinity. My dad, what I realized for him, that yes, he had the aggression. Yes, he wanted to control things, right? And oftentimes he'll try to control it physically by physically exerting, a power or whatever the case is. But he also uh he had pride issues. He didn't want to seek for help. And that's probably my biggest message for anyone. Having spent time in the Marine Corps and actually doing deployments and being deployed to Kuwait and Iraq 03 and 04 respectively, for me, I came back and I was different, and different in a way where I needed help. And it's important for us to understand it's okay. Like it's a manly thing to actually get help. And that's the message I really want to bring across as we move into this, right? It's okay to get help. And there's so many amazing organizations that are out here that can help you with the help that you need, right? Okay, cool. So, what are some other common effects? I've alluded to some of those already: aggression, jockeying for power and control, antisocial behavior. How many times, do we actually find ourselves isolating ourselves and not being around the people that can help us, right? Hey, so don't be acting so weak. Why are you so weak, man? You weak, right? We don't want to hear that. And so to keep from appearing to be weak in those moments where we are weak and we need help, we'll be antisocial. We won't disclose the those we won't allow ourselves to be vulnerable in those moments that we need to be vulnerable to get the help that we need. Some other common effects that are associated with this would be domestic violence, as I spoke about pertaining to the story about my dad. But catch this: increased mental health struggles. If I don't get the help I need, then that means that struggle that I'm dealing with, that hardship, that battle, that war that's going on mentally and emotionally, I'm probably losing that. Not probably, I am losing that if I'm not getting the help that I need. So either one or two things will happen. Either I find myself imploding, now I'm no good for anyone, or I explode, or I'm doing both, right? And so for us, it's super important again that we pay attention to some of these common symptoms or effects, if you will, of hypermasculinity. And as we begin to identify those things, even the suicidals, I think that's something that we don't talk about much, but suicides is a very big thing. When we talk, believe the statistics are uh, males that are 45 or younger, and I could be wrong with that, but 45 or younger adult males, or the leading cause of their death is suicide. Again, I could be wrong with the age, but I was reading a article that had spoke to that, and I said, man, that's interesting. That's interesting, suicides. But this, the biggest part that really gets me, is that if we don't deal with it as men, as fathers, if we don't help fathers to deal with that, it now can be transferred from that generation to the next generation, to the next generation, to the next generation. And now we have this perpetuated cycle of hypermasculinity. And that affects all of us. It doesn't just affect that family that has that issue going on. Like I often think about my childhood experience. And once my dad had passed away, I shut down. Like I wasn't trying to talk to anybody. I was trying to be there for my brother for sure, right? But I wasn't really trying to be social like that. But I saw how my brother reacted. I can see him actually acting out. Now he's frustrated. He shows the frustration at school. So now it's not just a problem for my brother. It's not just a concern for me about my brother, but it's also a concern for the teachers, for those students that are around him when he's actually having throwing that rage or having rage, expressing his anger or whatever the case is. When he's talking back, like it's affecting those. It's affecting my grandparents, the ones who took over raising us once my dad passed away. Because now they got to come up and they got to sit in these meetings and they got to deal with the stress or whatever is associated with that. It affects so many other people. It does. And I think that's the biggest thing to really take away from this, that when we talk about hypermasculinity, it's not just limited to the father. It affects their families. It affects the community or those people that are surrounded, that their families are surrounded by. It affects society at large. It really does. And so let's look at this. And I don't want to spend a lot of time with this right here. I'm just going to allow you to see some of these statistics. And again, I'm not taking away from all the wonderful things that father's doing, because there's some amazing things. Like I'll give you the first statistic right here. 1 in 4 children live in a home without a dad. On the flip side of that, 3 out of 4 children actually have a dad at home. So again, we have a lot of good things that are happening. A lot of dads are stepping up to the plate. But this is the thing that I want to stress, that if we don't make sure we deal with hypermasculinity, what we're going to end up seeing is that number right there, that 1 in 4, increasing, increasing over time, right? Increasing over time. And so let me keep moving. I want to get to this right here, which is, again, who are you? You are a winner. And today you win, right? Who are you? You are a difference maker. And today you're making a difference. Some of the practical solutions right here. So one of the African proverbs says, if you're not part of the solution, then you're a part of the problem by default. So I want you to write down this acronym, ASK, ASK, ask. How can you be part of the solution? One of the biggest things that we can do is that we can continue to acknowledge our fathers, letting them know that they are valued and they are influential, so that we can encourage that positive behavior that they have, that we can encourage those healthy decisions that they're making, right? Both for themselves and for their family, and eventually it's going to affect our community as well, right? So let's acknowledge them. Right. Maybe we're doing parent nights. Maybe we're doing a lot of the things like the Father's Day Out, those type events, this conference, right? There's a lot of different things that we can do just to acknowledge our fathers, that you are doing good. And perhaps if we continue to do that, now we'll also encourage them by default to even do it even more at a higher level, right? The more I acknowledge them, the more I'm more motivated to continue to do what I'm doing, but now I want to step it up, right? The S stands for seek. Seek to understand. Connect with the Father. Maybe there are parent workshops like we have going on this evening, for the Father Fest. There's a father conference that's happening this evening. Maybe we get to know the Father. Don't make assumptions or prejudge. I know how you look, but I don't know you. I only see the cover of the book. Let me get to know a father. If you are in an organization or company that serves the child or spouse, significant other, but not necessarily fathers, maybe you do partner with another company that does cater to the fathers, and see where there's some collaboration there. Maybe you can put on the event at a similar time and they can have something going on for the fathers while you continue to work with your targeted market, right? And then the K stands for keep pursuing. Like let it not just be a one-time thing. Let it be where we're constantly volunteering at local organizations, and we're constantly putting on events and things of that nature, to promote father empowerment. educate others on how to effectively engage the father, and then donate to the fathers, to those father organizations, right? It can be money, it can be card, gift card, massage. Like it doesn't really matter. Your time, your resources, right? An opportunity to be a part of something amazing. We just did a book called When the Walls Speak, right? Fathers Restoring Generational Confidence. There's 12 fathers that are in this book right here, sharing their wisdom to impact the next generation, right? Some of the available resources, as you already know, about Starry, of course, right? But we also have National Fatherhood Initiative, National Center for Fathering, and the National Responsible Fatherhood Clearinghouse. And then my organization as well, Size of the Man. The last thing I want to leave you with is this right here. This is the book that I just referenced. I would love to give each and every one of you guys a free copy of that. All you simply need to do is go to that website right there, scroll down to the bottom, and you can get you a free ebook for this. Doesn't cost you anything, but I want you guys to see some of the things that we are actually doing to help to empower the fathers. And so I invite you again to go to this particular website right here, Darryl with two R's, ylwthomas.com for or backslash, I guess, walls dash speak. All right. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with is this right here. Let's take action today. As I said, you are a winner, and today you win. You are a difference maker, and today you're making a difference. For those that may be interested, and being a part of what we're doing with our organization, helping our young people break the cycles of fatherlessness and poverty, I'm asking you just to simply email us and just put in the subject line volunteer. Maybe you want to volunteer your resources, your time, your expertise, whatever the case is, you're more than welcome to do that. And these are just some of the dates for our camps. And let me go back so for you guys to catch that. Again, sizeofaman.org is where you get that information. Sizeofaman.org.